and welcome back to Friday Reads, where we help you find your next read. I'm Jill.
And I'm Julie. And we thought this week we'd pick a topic that involved fate and human connection, sort of that spirit of the holidays and interacting with people. So I'll turn it over to Jill for her first pick.
My first one is The Keeper of Happy Endings by Barbara Davis. This was, I don't know when it was published. Celine Russell is well-schooled in the business of happy endings. For generations, her family has kept an exclusive bridal salon in Paris, where magic is worked with needle and thread. It's said that a bride who wears a Roussel gown is guaranteed a lifetime of joy, but devastating losses during World War II leave Celine's world and heart in ruins, and her faith and love shaken. She boxes up her memories, stowing them away, along with her broken dreams, determined to forget. Decades later, while coping with her own tragic loss, aspiring gallery owner Rory Grant leases Celine's old property and discovers a box containing letters and a vintage wedding dress, never worn. When Rory returns the mementos, an unlikely friendship develops, and eerie parallels in Rory's and Celine's lives begin to surface. It's clear they were destined to meet, and that Rory may hold the key to righting a 40-year wrong and opening the door to shared healing and perhaps a little magic. So, yeah.
My first pick is Sarah Addison Allen's Other Birds, an enchanting tale filled with magical realism and moments of pure love that won't let you go. Between the real and the imaginary, there are stories that take flight in the most extraordinary ways. Right off the coast of South Carolina, on Mallow Island, the Delawisp sits. It's a stunning old cobblestone building shaped like a horseshoe and named after the tiny turquoise birds who, alongside its human tenants, inhabit an air of magical secrecy. When Zoe comes to claim her deceased mother's apartment at the Delawisp, she meets her quirky and secretive neighbors, including a young woman with a past, two estranged middle-aged sisters, and a lonely chef, along with 3 ghosts. The sudden death of one of Zoe's new neighbors sets off a search that leads to the island's famous author and to a long-estranged relative of those sisters. Each of these people has a story, and each story has an ending, which hasn't yet been written. So,
Nice.
Check out Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. It got 4.14 review on Goodreads, so, and it came up on a lot of the lists that we searched for, so.
That's on my to-be-read list. My next one is The Sweetness of Water by Nathan Harris. This is written in the spirit of the known world and the Underground Railroad. It's a debut novel, part of Oprah's book club, about an unlikely bond between 2 freedmen who are brothers and a Georgia farmer whose alliance will alter their lives and his forever. In the waning days of Civil War, brothers Prentice and Landry, freed by the Emancipation Proclamation, seek refuge on the homestead of George Walker and his wife Isabel. The Walkers, racked by the loss of their only son to the war, hire the brothers to work their farm, hoping through an unexpected friendship to staunch their grief. Prentice and Landry, meanwhile, plan to save money for the journey north and a chance to reunite with their mother, who was sold when they were boys. Parallel to their story runs a forbidden romance between 2 Confederate soldiers. The young men, recently returned from the war to the Old Ox, hold their trysts in the woods. But when their secret is discovered, the resulting chaos, including a murder, unleashes convulsive repercussions on the entire community. In the aftermath of such turmoil, it is Isabel who emerges an unlikely leader, proffering a healing vision for the land and the newly freed citizens of Old Ox. With candor and sympathy, debut novelist Nathan Harris creates an unforgettable cast of characters, depicting Georgia in the violent crucible of Reconstruction. Equal parts beauty and terror, as gripping as it is moving, The Sweetness of Water is an epic whose grandeur locates humanity and love among the most harrowing circumstances. So,
And a debut novel.
A debut.
All right, my second pick is The Stationery Shop by Marjan Kamali. This was published back in 2019. This was described by Shelf Awareness as a powerful, heartbreaking story which explores loss, reconciliation, and the quirks of fate. In this book, Roya, a dreamy, idealistic teenager living amid the political upheaval of 1953 Tehran, finds a literary oasis in kindly Mr. Fakhri's neighborhood stationery shop, which is stocked with books and pens and bottles of jewel-colored ink. Then, Mr. Fakri, with a keen instinct for a budding romance, introduces Roya to his other favorite customer, handsome barman, who has a burning passion for justice and a love for Rumi's poetry, and she loses her heart all at once. The romance blossoms, and the little stationery shop remains their favorite place in all of Tehran. A few short months later, on the eve of their marriage, Roya agrees to meet Bahman at the town square, and violence erupts that forever changes their country's future. In the chaos, he never shows. For weeks, she tries desperately to contact him, but her efforts are fruitless. With a sorrowful heart, she moves on, to college in California, to another man, to a life in New England, until more than 60 years later, an accident of fate leads her back to Bahman and offers her a chance to ask him the questions that have haunted her for more than a century. Why did you leave? Where did you go? And how is it that you were able to forget me? So this sounds like a good one. This got 4.21 on Goodreads, so it really got good recommendations. So check out the stationery shop.
This one is The Lost Ticket. This is on our new bookshelf by Freya Sampson. This is about strangers aboard a London bus to help an old elderly man find a missed love connection. So, when Libby Nichols arrives in London broken-hearted with her life in tatters, the first person she meets on the bus is elderly Frank. He tells her about a time in 1962 that he met a girl on the number 88 bus with beautiful red hair just like hers. They made plans for a date at the National Gallery Art Museum, but Frank lost the bus ticket with her number on it. For the past 60 years, he's ridden the same bus trying to find her, but with no luck. Libby is inspired to action with the help of an unlikely companion. She papers the bus route with posters advertising their search. Lizzie begins to open her guarded heart to new friendships and a budding romance as her tightly controlled world expands, but with Frank's dementia progressing quickly, their chance of finding the girl on the 88 bus is slipping away. More than anything, Libby wants Frank to see his lost love one more time, but their quest also shows Libby just how important it is to embrace her own chances for happiness before it's too late. In a beautiful, uplifting novel about how a shared common experience among strangers can transform lives in the most wonderful ways. So,
Fun.
Yeah, this looks like a fun read.
In 60 years, just like that previous one.
Yeah.
All right, my third pick is a little lighter. This is Rules for Visiting by Jessica Kane Francis, published in 2019. It's a beautifully observed and deeply funny novel of May Attaway, a university gardener who sets out on an odyssey to reconnect with 4 old friends over the course of a year. At 40, May is more at home with plants than people. Over the years, she's turned inward, finding pleasure in language, her work as a gardener, and keeping her neighbors at arm's length while keenly observing them. But when she is unexpectedly granted some leave from her job, May is inspired to reconnect with 4 friends who were once very close friends. She knows they will never have a proper reunion, so she goes one by one to each of them. A student of the classics, May considers her journey a female odyssey. What might the world have had if, instead of waiting, Penelope had set out on an adventure of her own? Rules for Visiting is a woman's exploration of friendship in the digital age. Deeply alert to the nobility and the ridiculousness of ordinary people, May savors the pleasures along the way. Afternoon ice cream with a long-lost friend, surprise postcards from an unexpected crush, and a moving encounter with ancient beauty. Though she gets a taste of viral online fame, May chooses to bypass her friends' perfectly cultivated online lives to instead meet them in their messy analog ones. Ultimately, May learns that a best friend is someone who knows your story, and she inspires us all to master the art of visiting. So, Rules for Visiting. I added this one to my list. This sounded like fun.
We have some good books this week. This one is The Things She's Seen. This is by Amblin and Ezekiel Quemolina. I don't know. It's a very long name. Hopefully you can see it. Nothing's been the same for Beth Teller since the day she died. Her dad is drowning in grief. He's the only one who has been able to see and hear her since the accident. But now she's got a mystery to solve, a mystery that will hopefully remind her detective father that he's still alive and there's life after Beth that is still worth living. Who is Isabel catching, and why is she able to see Beth too? What is her connection to the crime Beth's father had been sent to investigate? A gruesome fire at a home for troubled youth that left an unidentifiable body behind. What happened to the people who haven't been seen since the fire? As Beth and her father unravel the mystery, they find shocking and heartbreaking story lurking beneath the surface of a small town, and a friendship that lasts beyond one life and into another. So, things she's seen.
My fourth pick, probably one of my most popular books on my picks this week, is Where the Forest Meets the Stars by Glendy Vanderraa, published in 2019. Another great review on Goodreads. This was a 4.14. After the loss of her mother and her own battle with breast cancer, Joanna Teal returns to her graduate research on nesting birds in rural Illinois, determined to prove that her recent hardships had not broken her. She throws herself into her work from dusk till dawn until her solitary routine is disrupted by the appearance of a mysterious child who shows up at her cabin barefoot and covered in bruises. The girl calls herself Ursa, and she claims to have been sent from the stars to witness 5 miracles. With concerns about the child's home situation, Jo reluctantly agrees to let her stay, just until she learns more about Ursa's past. Jo enlists the help of her reclusive neighbor, Gabriel Nash, to solve the mystery of this charming child. But the more time they spend together, the more questions they have. How does a young girl not only read, but understand Shakespeare? Why do good things keep happening in her presence? And why aren't Jo and Gabe checking the missing children's website anymore? Though the three have formed an incredible bond, they know difficult choices must be made. As the summer nears an end and Ursa gets closer to her 5th miracle, her dangerous past starts closing in. When it finally catches up to them, all of their painful secrets will be forced into the open, and their fates will be left to the stars. It's a debut, and this mysterious child teaches 2 strangers how to love and trust again. So Where the Forest Meets the Stars.
That's on my to-read list too. My next one is In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. This book asks, where do you see yourself in 5 years? When type A Manhattan lawyer Dani Cohen is asked this question at the most important interview of her career, she has meticulously crafted an answer at ready. Later, after nailing her interview and accepting her boyfriend's marriage proposal, Dani goes to sleep knowing she's on the right track to achieve her 5-year plan. But when she wakes up, she's suddenly in a different apartment with a different ring on her finger and beside a very different man. The television news is on the background, and she can just make out the scrolling date. It's the same night, December 15th, but 2025, 5 years in the future. After a very intense, shocking hour, Dani wakes again at the brink of midnight back in 2020. She can't shake what has happened. It certainly felt much more than merely a dream, but she isn't the kind of person who believes in visions. That nonsense is only charming coming from free-spirited types, like her lifelong best friend Bella. Determined to ignore the odd experience, she files it away in the back of her mind. That is until 4.5 years later, when, by chance, Dani meets the very same man from that long-ago vision. Brimming with joy and heartbeat, In 5 Years is an unforgettable love story that reminds us of the power of loyalty, friendship, and the unpredictable nature of destiny. So, I thought that sounded fun. Mm-hmm. And this might go going on my reading list.
My last pick goes back in time. This was published in 2010. This is One Amazing Thing by Shitra Banerjee Divakaruni. This one came up on some of the lists when I was searching too, so I was not familiar with this author or this book. She's the acclaimed author of The Mistress of Spices and Before We Visit the Goddess. Wasn't familiar with those either. So, in this book, late afternoon sun sneaks through the windows of a passport and visa office in an unnamed American city. Most customers and even most office workers have come and gone, but 9 people remain. A punky teenager with an unexpected gift. An upper-class Caucasian couple whose relationship is disintegrating, a young Muslim American man struggling with the fallout of 9/11, a grad student haunted by a question about love, an African-American ex-soldier who's searching for redemption, a Chinese grandmother with a secret past, and 2 visa office workers on the verge of an adulterous affair. When an earthquake rips through the afternoon lull, trapping these 9 characters together, their focus first jolts to their collective struggle to survive. There's little food. The office begins to flood. Then, at a moment when the psychological and emotional stress seems nearly too much for them to bear, the young grad student suggests that each tell a personal tale, one amazing thing from their lives which they have never told anyone before. And as their surprising stories of romance, marriage, family, political upheaval, and self-discovery unfold against the urgency of their life or death circumstances, the novel proves the transcendent power of stories and the meaningfulness of human expression itself. One Amazing Thing is a passionate novel about survival and about the reasons to survive. So I thought this one sounded like an interesting pick too for
cool.
human connections.
Well, we hope that this helps you find something good to read if you would like to read about fate and have faith in humanity more.
None of my books are from the Kimberly shelves. These books must be popular picks, so you'd have to put them on hold at InfoSoup if any of mine interest you, and I think a good chunk of Jill's also. Like, comment, share. We always like to hear from you. We know you can find us on the Kimberly Public website, and which links to YouTube and the Kimberly Public Library Facebook page. And until next time, which I'm going to do a teaser, Jill and I are going to do our favorite books we read this year, and it is going to be the 1,000th book recommendations that we have given. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching. Bye.